Every summer, the internet hands us another shopping list. The dress, the blush, the gut health powder, the glowy skincare routine. And just about every summer, I've bought at least one thing on it because I become convinced that this next purchase is going to give me the summer of my dreams. But when I reflect and think back on the summers that have meant the most to me, I can't remember what I actually bought. So if you are tired of feeling like you need a new wardrobe, a new body, or a whole new personality before you're allowed to enjoy this season, here's how to have a summer that feels like summer again, without buying a single thing.
Many times when summer comes around, I'll be ready for the ride. I'll be ready this time. I'll be ready for it all.
What if I told you that your favorite summer outfit is already hanging in your wardrobe? Throughout my years of endless spending, I realized that I was shopping for multiple identities at the same time, believing I needed different clothes for different versions of my life. Garden party me, European holiday me, brunch me, any kind of me. Meanwhile, in reality, every single summer I'm wearing the same old 3 outfits on repeat. Somewhere along the way, I think we've all drunk the algorithmic Kool-Aid where the internet and social media convinces us that we're one purchase away from completing our summer wardrobe. And once we have that, we can actually enjoy summer. You see these things a lot in advertising where they equate things like rest or socializing or enjoyment with something that you need to purchase. And it's usually attached to fashion or skincare or something that has to do with appearance, making summer become very performative. So every year in June, we're convinced that we need this new summer identity, and without it, joy is a distant concept. It's not going to belong to us unless we purchase it. And this identity is just far-fetched for most people. You know, the woman who cycles to the farmer's market and plays tennis before work is ridiculous, frankly, and it is unrealistic and so unnecessary. You know, meanwhile, I'm over here eating a block of cheese over the sink and looking for my phone while holding my phone. We have stopped asking ourselves what would make me happy this summer and instead started asking, what does a good summer look like? Because those are 2 totally different questions. So if you catch yourself wanting to just purchase your way through summer to chase this enjoyment, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what experience am I actually trying to buy? Because I've been thinking about this, and I think we're living in a culture of the death of enough. A simple walk isn't enough anymore. It's got to have the outfit, the playlist, the water bottle, the smartwatch statistics, and the Instagram story to follow it. And then you start feeling like, oh, if I'm not doing all these things that I see on social media that apparently everyone else is doing, then I'm failing at summer. I'm not embracing this time of the year that so many people look forward to. But you're not failing at summer. We are living inside an economy that profits from incompletion. Social media, advertising, influencers, algorithms, they all make more money when you feel like you are one purchase, one product, one routine away, or one habit away from finally doing summer properly. Because if you ever looked around at your own life and really thought, you know what, all of this is really quite lovely, you'd close the app, you'd stop scrolling, you'd stop searching and chasing. You'd probably wander to the park with a nice sandwich and have maybe perhaps one of the loveliest afternoons of the year. That's terrible for engagement. That's terrible for our society. That's bad news. If everyone's walking around being content with what they have, my gosh, the economy would be doomed, right? So maybe the goal this summer isn't becoming the woman or the person that the algorithm keeps introducing you to, but it's just simply remembering what enough feels like. The summer dress isn't really about the dress. The workout outfit really isn't about working out. Because let's be real, it's about being the person who owns that outfit. And I'm perfectly guilty of this. I mean, take this couch, for instance. People have commented on this couch being like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, where'd you get it? And I always respond like, don't get it. You know, I bought it because it looks beautiful and hadn't sat on it before, which is a big lesson learned. Don't order a couch if you haven't sat on it. But I imagined myself all curled up and cozy and listening to these playlists and socializing and entertaining. This whole fantasy around this couch. You know, here I am filming my YouTube videos and I usually end up sitting on the floor because it looks nicer in the background than it feels to sit on. So even in this example, I'm not buying a couch, I'm buying a picture in my head. And once you start noticing this pattern, you kind of start to see it everywhere. Like, we are exceptionally good at buying props for a life that we have planned, but never actually execute.
For the beginning of summer, thought I'd be someone else.
So before buying the thing, I try to have the experience first, because that usually quenches the desire to actually purchase that object. So for example, if I want a slow summer evening, go and sit outside for a bit in the evening, or just sit on the balcony. You don't need to buy anything for that. Because here's the funny thing, once you actually have the experience, you obsess over the object promising that experience less and less. And sometimes you still might want the purchase afterwards, and that's perfectly okay. Sometimes the dress is beautiful, or sometimes that patio furniture would make your evenings more comfortable. But now you know you're buying it because you genuinely like it, not because you're hoping it's going to create this life for you. You know, this identity we chase maybe doesn't exist at all. Maybe it's just this woman wearing her favorite dress for the third weekend in a row just because she loves it and she wants to wear the absolute crap out of it, and just because she enjoys it. So how I like to think of this is that I pick a uniform. I pick about 3 different pieces that make me feel most like me. It removes about 90% of my decision making, and it does give a bit like cartoon character, but honestly, I'm perfectly okay with that. So the 3 things that make up my uniform that make me feel most like me are a pop of color somewhere in my outfit, statement pearl earrings, and my favorite lipstick. And I wear the same lipstick every single day. I own 4 lipsticks now. I wear the same one every day. But there's so much joy in that, because in reality, most of us, I mean, if you're watching this right now, you have pretty nice stuff already, yeah? So let's embrace this ritual of not waiting. Don't treat your nicest things like they're waiting for a more important version of you to arrive someday, because she's already here. Don't save them for later. Don't save them for the dinner party or the holiday, the date, the version of ourselves who somehow has a more interesting social calendar than we actually do. You know, I'll wear these earrings even if I'm just staying at home, or if I'm just trotting off to the supermarket. It doesn't have to be anything glamorous or exciting. It just makes me feel good. So you don't need to wait for anything special to wear your nicest things. You know, Gwen Stefani said it right. What are we waiting for? Wear the expensive perfume because it's hot and you feel like it. Use the fancy body lotion even if you're just staying in. Open that eyeshadow palette that you've been admiring but preserving like it's a museum exhibit. Light the expensive candle when folding laundry, or use your linen napkins for getting takeaway pizza. Write your freaking grocery list in that beautiful notebook that you keep saving for your precious thoughts. The irony is that the more we save these things for the perfect moment, the less we're gonna actually use them at all. And then these objects quietly migrate to this strange category of possessions that are technically ours but never really get lived with, and they stop feeling luxurious and instead become just clutter with a side of guilt.
Summertime, when I found myself out, turn around, I'll dive head first into the...
I want you to think about your favorite summer, and I want you to ask yourself, is the first thing that pops into your mind what lipstick you were wearing? What skincare you were using? It's very likely that none of those best memories have come from a shopping cart. They have come from repeating small, beautiful rituals that became integrated into your everyday life. And similarly, I think something to embrace is something like a nothing hour. Not because it's productive, because it isn't, but I feel like we're just having this idea forced down our throats that we have to be productive every goddamn second of the day to squeeze the juice out of life, and I resent that. And I'm not saying do nothing as in like just stare at a wall for an hour, but just to have nothing to optimize, nothing to consume, just existing, just observing. Like, we have just stopped letting our minds rest. You know, I'm very bitter about this idea that being busy or overworked or having this hectic life is something to wear as this badge of honor. Because now I see these quiet moments and the opportunity to be bored as such a luxury. I mean, you want to talk about quiet luxury? That's it. Stillness. That is the quiet luxury of today. But we have become so uncomfortable with these empty moments, right? Like filling in the silence in our lives. And for many of us, we've done that with consuming, whether it's shopping, whether it's scrolling. But you know when my favorite and most creative thoughts come to me is when I'm just still, when my mind has an opportunity to actually unravel and disentangle and just be. Like, you know, when I'm in the shower or when I'm just out for a walk and my phone isn't with me, it's so blissful. It's just like right now, I can hear the horses outside. And I've been going on these daily walks, and something I notice when I'm on my walks, because Vancouver is quite busy with tourists right now, I've been observing the tourists, and it's so interesting to me how people have spent so much money traveling to observe a place where that I can visit anytime, every single day. But the tourists always seem happier than the locals. But it's not because they're somewhere objectively better, it's because they're paying attention. Meanwhile, all of us here are speed walking to, I don't know, buy toilet paper or go to the dentist, or freaking out about tax returns, or just running to the bus stop. It's just run. Just forever in a rush to get to the next thing to have to do or to consume. What's funny is that people will travel halfway around the world, spend so much money and time to get here. Meanwhile, I've lived here for years and I haven't even explored a street that could be 2 blocks away from me. Like, I'll go on my walk and I'll be like, I've never actually gone down this street before, and it's right near me. All this to say that I think a good summer isn't built by buying more things or even buying better things. It's just built by collecting better ordinary days.
I can't believe I got so charged. I don't know what got into me.
Now, while I think it's important to have goals, I also think it's good to acknowledge what you're not going to do this summer. Like for myself, I will not be joining a running club. I will not be voluntarily sitting in an ice bath, because if a habit requires me to willingly climb into freezing water, I'm cool with skipping out on the enlightenment that waits for me on the other side. Every boyfriend I've ever had has tried to convince me that hiking is fun, but they're not ex-boyfriends, so draw your own conclusions. And despite what Instagram seems to believe, I am not someone who will suddenly enjoy sleeping in a tent. I have spent my entire adult life trying to make my bed more comfortable, so why am I going to undo all that hard work? And look, truth be told, I did not own a pair of sneakers until my adulthood, until I'd had like 20 pairs of high heels, so I have no authority to tell people to go outside. But I will be going outside, just not running or doing anything to make myself sweat too much or exhaust myself, because I'm a big diva. I'm just not gonna do that. But don't follow the trends, okay? And I know it's ironic because here I am making a video talking about how to embrace having a good summer, but my message here is like, you don't need to follow the trends of what other people are doing or to believe that summer has to fit a certain aesthetic in order for you to enjoy it.
Dream, standing in your presence, carry me away, honey.
Something else I've really enjoyed embracing lately is the beauty of repetition. And this has kind of been staring at me in the face for years, even though I've not really embraced it and I've ignored it, frankly, because I always gravitate towards my favorite things. But capitalism has tricked us into thinking that novelty is the same thing as joy. But repetition isn't failure. It's the precise thing that creates attachment. So we have been taught to chase novelty and that happiness exists in whatever comes next. But when I think about the happiest moments of my life, they're in the repeated things. They're in the things I keep returning to. So I really think this is something fun to embrace. Like, for example, one of my favorite restaurants in Vancouver, I've gone to this restaurant, I kid you not, well over 100 times. And they have this amazing salad. I would order it every single time, but they must have changed this salad now at least 10 times since I first had it. And the original was perfect. I don't know why they changed it. It's like Dior with their makeup, just forever changing everything. And let me just say, I do not support theft unless it's culinary plagiarism, because if we can make it at home, even better. I resent paying $20-something for a salad these days. So have your own summer recipe, something that you just love making, you want to eat on repeat, but you got to make it joyful and beautiful for you. And this salad, I must say, it's really good. I have this foundation with whipped goat cheese and crème fraîche, and I put roasted beets on top, and pomegranate and dill and mint and crispy shallots. It's so good. I'll put the recipe and how I make it in the description if you're interested. But when I taste it, to me, that salad tastes like summer. And I think it's nice to have your own summer recipe, because this is something we can learn from restaurants, right? They repeat the same dishes all the time and we return to them. And we will usually order the same thing that we got before because we like it. So do the same thing at home. Have your summer recipe that you love and that you can take time in a nice summer evening and just enjoy the process of either cooking and enjoy the process of cooking. If you're not into cooking, just eating your favorite meal. So for me, there's a lot of joy in repetition. There's a lot of comfort in it. And that's not to say like, hey, just do the same things all the time, but create your own summer playlist. I have one that I'm playing right now that I just love, and I like to create a new playlist for every season. And I don't know, it just takes me back to that place. I remember one of my best summers was when a girlfriend flew over to Vancouver. She lives in the UK. And we drove from Vancouver to Mexico, just hugging the West Coast highway. And we created a playlist together. And that playlist, like, we played it on repeat in the hours and hours we spent in this car. And it was so fun, you know, it was so fun. But now when I hear a song from that playlist, it just transports me back to that time. And I don't remember what lipstick I was wearing or what clothes I had. It's just all a blur to me. But I really remember the feelings and the smells and the joy that I felt. So while capitalism or our consumerist society teaches us to constantly replace things, I think joy comes from returning to things and ritualizing things and repetition. Returning to your favorite bench on your walk, repeating the same playlist, the recipe, the people, that places that feel like home and that feel like summer to you. So for summer to be joyful, it doesn't have to feel exciting every day. But just think about paying attention to things, noticing things, and just zooming out and not having our heads buried in our phones and socializing and actually listening to people, because that familiarity can become really nostalgic and just very heartwarming. So I don't think the internet is trying to ruin our summers, but it has turned summer, or essentially any season, into this performance. And that a good summer is something we have to prepare for, and we end up spending the whole June preparing for it, and then before you know, you have 2 months left and summer's almost over. So wear your favorite dress so often that it ends up in every single photo. Who cares, you know? If you feel good in it and you love it, freaking wear it. Again, think about the experience that you're trying to buy. And in my case, I wasn't actually looking for other things, but I was looking for connection, rest, adventure, a reason to leave the house. A reason to invite people over, a reason to pay attention. Because while consumerism has taught us to replace everything, a meaningful life is built by returning. And maybe the best parts of summer have never been the things we bought. They've been the moments we repeated often enough that they just quietly became part of who we are. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next one.
Summer comes around, I'll be ready for the ride. I'll be ready this time, I'll be ready for it all.